After the runaway success of my last window building video with 26 views, I believe, in 3 short months, I said, well, it's time to do another one of those. So all you have to do is, you already know the measurements of the hole that the 2 windows are going to be going into, so just build you a pine box, basically, that will fit in that hole. From there, you can just kind of eyeball everything, scoot the windows around where you have like an 1/8 of an inch clearance around it. Just shim those in there if you need to. Otherwise, the windows themselves will help you keep everything square once you kind of get going. So, the nice thing is you can do all the you can screw it all together from the outside with little pocket screws or whatever you like. Once I have that done, I just cut a bunch of little short pieces. Figure out how wide your frame is, how thick your windows are, and then cut the appropriate width little blocks to screw to the inside of the window box there, so that when you put the actual replacement window back into your wooden frame, it suspends the new window in the center of the box. That way, it's exactly where you want it when you go to trim it all out, the face of the window from inside the house. Which actually we're going to do that in the garage, but you know what I mean. I'll put the windows back in. So the bottom board, when you have the window installed, that would be a horizontal board, lying flat. That's what I'm getting ready to cut right here. So I always just leave them long.
All right. So
well,
just board on there.
I'm talking to myself.
Board on there.
Like a little mark
along each one of those spots there. And then measure down, which is 1 3/8 from here to there. So you just bring that up 1 3/8, measure up 1 3/8. This will be the piece we cut out. And then just same thing, just transfer that up 1 3/8 all the way across. We'll cut that out. That'll drop down in there, and then we'll screw it down. We'll screw it in from.
All right, then. Figured it'd be just as easy to do most of that on my scroll saw. I did have to cut the little middle piece out with the jigsaw. I didn't film that part, but it was incredible. So anyway, I leave them along on the ends, so that way, I don't know, it's just easier that way. Trim it one after you're done. There I'm just rounding over the edge. Plop that down in there, put some screws in it from underneath, and then that's held nice and snug. It'll never move. There's Joni. So there I'm just doing the vertical trim pieces that you'll be able to see on the inside of the house. Putting little dominoes in the top horizontal piece that'll go over the top of the window. That the 3 vertical pieces I just made are gonna domino into. There's Tommy checking everything out. Boy loves the garage. So those are all upside down right now. I put 2 dominoes on the top of each one and then a pocket screw in it just so I wouldn't have to leave it clamped. I could just clamp it there just to hold it tight, put a screw in it, and then I'll just flip that back around upside down once I got a screw in each one of them. It's kind of a bear to try to shove that together with those dominoes being real tight. So that's what we're doing there. So now that's a connection that'll just never ever pop loose. So then I did just put a couple pocket screws on the ends of each one of those, and then I just pocket screw that in from behind. That's the part that would be, that's the bottom of the window that's installed. You can see I kind of had to flex that in there tight to do that. That didn't make sense. Anyway, I did glue all that down before I brad nailed it, so that should never be able to go anywhere. So this piece I cut with a panel cutting bit for like a 3/4 inch, just with like a 1 inch piece of stock. So then just sit that up there, decide where you want it, mark a line on the back, and rip that down on the table saw. And then you can go cut your miters on there. And then once you've got your miters lined up, you can. Well, I'll show you that here in a second.
You can see where the saw kerf comes out from. So here's the line that we traced right here. So there's the point where you want it to line up. So your saw kerf is on the right side of that point right there. So that's where you want.
Yeah, that probably didn't make any sense, but I'm not very good at that. Anyway, yeah, glue that on there. Anyway, there's a little spring clamps are nice. It's like $35 for a ton of them. It's just a little piece of spring steel that bites in there. Very handy. Let that sit for 5 minutes and shoot a brad in there. You can take the little clamps off. Pretty great. But anyway, the way that the that short piece I put on there, I always just leave them like a 1/4 inch long. And then since you've already got that table saw set up to that exact width, then you can just go over there and shave the little excess off. And it lines up perfect. Creates the illusion that you're better than you are. That's why I do that. Pow, 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 pow. So, then I forgot to put any little pocket screws on the bottom of this thing. So this will be to hold down the piece that goes underneath that little horizontal board when it's installed. And this will just be something just to hold that on there perfectly tight. You won't be able to see. I didn't want to shoot a bunch of brad nails in there because they just don't hold that great anyway. So a little glue on there and then just screw that down. And that'll never be able to go anywhere either. I probably used about 4 times more screws than I needed to, but oh well. And then I just made some 1/4 round, and then I'm just gluing and brad nailing that all in there. And you're pretty much done. At that point, you can just pick the window up with the help of your lovely wife, and take the little blocks out that you screwed in there to hold the windows up, and then go ahead and go cut out the old windows and plop that in the hole, and you can swap it out in about an hour or 2, depending on if you're on the first or second floor. Second floor takes longer because it's scary. So that'll be the last of my window videos. So if you're sick of those, it's cool. We're about done. So subscribe, tell your friends to subscribe, call your mom, just tell her hi, and maybe catch her up on what's going on. And she'd like to hear from you.